We're Greens Ken, everyone. It's me, Nick Michalak, and the stellar Steve Frazier.
Hello again, everybody.
And we're doing a 35th anniversary commentary for James Cameron's The Abyss, the special edition version, guys.
Buckle up, it's going to be a long ride.
Now that we have Blu-ray and 4K, which we're watching the 4K, we can enjoy this and talk about it for almost 2 hours and 50 minutes. So guys, buckle in, sync up to your timestamp to 0, get your subtitles turned on, and we'll get countdown to sync up. So in 3, 2, 1, play.
I don't think this is the longest one we've done.
It's close,
but
to
it's close.
Because Chapter 2 was close to this. We did like Dark Knight Rises was about this long. And we're gonna do the Batman later in the year, which is a couple minutes longer than this.
Oh, Nietzsche for the win here.
Which was not in the theatrical version for what Cameron said.
That little title card there?
Yeah, so.
Weird. Like, that's not a hard thing to do.
No.
You know?
It's so much. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with the production on this damn movie.
Well, I guess we'll try to pace it. And as you know, I mean, you know more anecdotes than I do.
Yeah, I ran through all the documentary stuff last night. But at least talking about theatrical versus special edition, because obviously this thing runs really long. And so.
What's the time difference between?
About half an hour.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was pressure from the studio. Well, I know there was a thing. It's more towards like the very end of the film where they test screened both versions, but this version had unfinished effects for the finale, and they figured, well, we'll just kind of cut our losses because they tested the same, and figure we'll cut our losses because we can't quite get the effects really done as well as we want to. So they kind of decided the other way.
Went with the one that was done.
Yeah, and just there's just a. If you look through a lot of the summary of reviews on like Wikipedia and whatnot, it was like all over the spectrum about whether people liked it, didn't like it, whether it clicked with them or something else like that. So a lot of stuff cut out from the theatrical.
There's our guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name, but
yeah. Yeah, a lot of stuff cut out of the theatrical was like a lot of character moments, a lot of things that kind of set up. More of the setups to the payoffs later on. They kept a lot of the payoffs, but not as much the setups to get motivations and character interactions, the meat of the story, the substance. Because this is very much a character-driven film, and if you cut out a lot of the character, well, you kind of lose the connectivity of the flow of the story. So when he put out the special edition in '93, it really just turned a lot of people around on it.
He's been in a million things too.
Oh yeah.
I never remember people's names. I'm the worst with names.
Yeah.
And now they're running into some sort of foreign object, right?
Yeah.
The unidentified whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to reiterate that the ocean is the goddamn scariest place.
Sure.
And because, you know, in 21st century parlance, we still, like, with everything that we have, we still don't know what the hell is in there.
So many crevices, so many little organisms, everything is like, take forever.
It's so vast.
And the more you learn about, like, by the time you catch up to what you knew, now there's probably 1,000 other things that kind of
redeveloped,
evolved, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's more stuff that is kind of pulled together from the organic soup.
Blow everything. Can you imagine working on a submarine? Like, to me, that is terrifying. Now, it's terrifying because you're in a death tube.
Yeah.
Under the water.
Pressurized water and.
Right. And now, that being said, I've long since been an advocate of exploration of like the Titanic.
Yeah.
And this is why James Cameron is like my guy, right?
Yeah.
And James Cameron loves deep sea exploration, which I think kind of maybe started around this. It manifested itself here. You know, this was his first foray into the unknown,
Yeah.
uncharted
Now
depths.
he's done 3 narrative films, and I think at least 2 documentaries where he's all underwater.
Right. I think it's weird that he's going to die on the Avatar Hill.
No.
You know, like my buddy and I were just talking about this.
Yeah.
And, here's a guy who has, 10 films that are all like upper stratosphere.
Yeah.
He's, a Mount Rushmore candidate.
Yeah. He takes his time and he delivers gold almost every single time.
Right. And so here's a guy at the end of his career to say, well, I've made Avatar, which you could put as a pillar in his repertoire.
Yeah.
But then to say, well, I'm going to make 4 more. Like,
I'm going to take, God knows, half a decade, a whole decade.
In betwixt. Right.
Yeah.
So to me, is that a...
Chris Elliott?
Chris Elliott, yeah. Again, bad with names. You know that guy? The guy with the face. For him to say, well, this is what my lasting legacy is going to be,
sure.
is 5 Avatar movies. Like, that's weird.
Yeah,
and
peculiar.
it's unfortunate because here's a guy who's made so many important movies,
and rarely T2 is the only thing he particularly went ahead. I'm going to write and direct a sequel. Now it's just all Avatar all the time. Just like you're just hungry for him to make new, different stuff.
The technology, right? Like, he's a technology whore.
Yeah,
which is fine. So if you're ever not sure who the leading lady is in an 80s movie, you could guess one of maybe 3 people. And Mastrantonio, or whatever the hell her name is definitely one of them. She's in a million things. You never know her name. Vertical stripe with a slanted striped tie is a weird choice. Now they're on the ship or whatever up north at sea level, right? That is the one that is like tied to this one underneath.
Essentially, yeah.
The anchor point or whatever. Command center, however you want to look at it.
That was one of the reasons this film cost so much. It was almost like $47 million and $89.
Well, let me get out my calculator while you're telling your story.
Well, one like Aliens cost maybe upwards of $20 million. So they're more than doubling the budget from the last 20th Century Fox movie he got. Is because they shot everything actually underwater for months on end.
Like this thing is underwater, this set?
Well, not this set, but anything that is showing anyone diving in scuba gear is actually underwater in a tank they found in South Carolina. They found like basically an old, like, incomplete nuclear power plant and a giant freaking thing they could convert into a tank for the entire thing. So they shot it all underwater. Cameron's underwater for like 10 hours a day directing the film, submerged.
That seems excessive. 43 million in today's dollars is $109 million.
That honestly seems cheap for these days.
I agree.
For most,
I agree. Like the most recent Marvel movies were, more than that.
Double than that.
Because, it's computers, fun with computers.
But it was the oddest thing because the news got out real easy that James Cameron, the guy who made Terminator and Aliens, big hits, ambitious, just like box office colossal director, he is making a deep sea underwater science fiction film.
Epic, right.
So now half the studios in Hollywood want to rush out their own B movies to cash out before it comes to theaters. So you get Sean S. Cunningham doing Deep Star 6. You've got George Cosmatos doing Leviathan. You've got George Roger Corman making a film. There's like it's like 5 films that come out mostly before The Abyss hits theaters, and they're all rushed out and they all bomb. And
there's these little Rove guys that, Cameron would actually use in real life for the Titanic. So you're saying this is some sort of like underwater
it's all
facility?
Underwater. There's no faking it. In all these Cashin movies, they did all drive for wet effects. They would do things between like slow motion photography and certain like sediment that could fly in the air. A lot of tricks to make sure they didn't have to spend 3 times the budget of what they're already spending to make it realistic. And I think like Leviathan, they may have like did like some optical composites for some translucent bubbles in the air just to kind of, it all worked. Leviathan looks very, very good. They pulled it off very well. But Cameron's the guy, he's got to do it for real. He ain't gonna fake it. He wants to be in there doing the thing, and it was hell and a half. Just the gear they had to create just to be able to film and put actors underwater and communicate and record dialogue. Insane.
Right, like you can't just take your camera underwater and shoot. Film. Yeah. It's not like it's digital.
Yeah, I mean, the cinematographer they got to at least shoot all the underwater footage he'd done another film beforehand that was very acclaimed on that regard, so he got him. But the weird thing was his hearing was shot. So when they're trying to communicate over the comm signals, to tell him to move the camera around and try and do it, they pretty much had to shout at him every single time to get him to do anything. So it was a nightmare.
Oh, money, right. Love this guy in the hat. So they need to go in and search for survivors on the submarine that has crashed and fell.
It has nuclear warheads on it.
Have they said that yet, though?
I don't know. I was blathering my...
Well, right, I know. I get it. I was trying to multitask. I was listening to your story and trying to read. Obviously, anyone who's watched this with us, is watching it with us, has seen it before.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched it. Maybe 5-ish years.
Okay. Because I went to the theatrical re-release they put on December, so...
Right, so you're pretty fresh on it.
So fresh enough, yeah.
And then you watched all the other shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is a fantastic film shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whatever this thing is, right? Like...
I mean, they did a lot of regular scale stuff, a lot of miniature work. I mean, everything you could do, they did it.
So, like, this thing, whatever he's in, is actually underwater.
I know this ship was all miniature, and they shot it very particular way to make sure there was, like, slow motion, the right sort of atomized water droplets and stuff like that. So they really worked on it, like, really, really specifically. Nice timing.
And so these two are exes at this point in this story.
Yeah. Divorced.
So the grand irony of the whole thing,
or at least it's a separation. It's basically done with them at the point.
Right. And the grand irony is that he wrote this character based on Gail Ann Hurd, who was the producer of the movie, who was his wife.
He's had like 5 times.
Right.
By the time we're sitting here, he's been married and divorced way too many times.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that he was married to her, like, when he started writing it. By the time they're shooting it, I think they're separated, much like these two are.
And it's on with Catherine Bigelow.
Right.
And falls out with her. Then it's on to Linda Hamilton. That falls out with her. Then it's like another woman, another woman. He ain't an easy man to love.
Well, I get it. I get it. But
He's a real taskmaster.
The fact that Bud and
Lindsay
are following the same scripted path that he and the actual producer of the movie, like, to me, that's always been the most fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Like, I get the grand scale of production. I get that old boy here, Bud, nearly died like 3 times while filming the movie.
Oh, yeah, Ed Harris, Ed
Harris.
Lord. We'll get into it.
We got a long way to go, folks.
There's a lot to talk about.
No, none of that. It's too late in the day for we watching people yawn. There you go.
There you
Cheers. Go. I got my cup.
Oh, look,
what do they got in cassettes there? What do they got?
A little out of focus. I don't know.
Elvis. I see Elvis.
Yeah.
She's got a good cowboy hat.
There's a FYC for Fine Cannibals, maybe.
She drives me crazy. There's something so fun about a group of people working together in a movie that all start in a sing-along. It's
nice to have my Laserdisc thing.
It's got a whole galvanized
like photo gallery.
Oh yeah, look at you.
Cast. Very good. It's a good thing to keep. Nice. You know, I have this. Nice to keep that because it's a nice insert essay write-up stuff.
They're even singing in harmony.
Oh yeah. That's just a great way to just show a camaraderie.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
A family dynamic amongst them all. Endear the audience to these people without having to go through a lot of stuff that kind of pinpoint everyone. When you cast it very well, that's always a thing. If they cast it with the right actors who know how to bring the right personality to everything, you don't have to write as much.
Right, it just becomes organic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really torn, right? Because, like, I feel like submarines are terrifying, and underwater exploration is terrifying. Mm-hmm. But it's like the one thing that I want to do. Like, you know, like I want to go to the Titanic, and I want to sit in the submersible and look around, and drive the little rove vehicle, and
Yeah, real nice casting Michael Biehn and getting into this one. He's playing something completely different than
in Aliens
before. Yeah. Terminator. Yeah. Well, my thing is like, if Michael Biehn has a mustache, he's probably the bad guy. He's got a mustache in this, mustache in Tombstone, mustache in Jade. Every time he's got a mustache, he's playing a bad dude.
That's an interesting theory. If no mustache, baby face, makes sense.
Yeah. He's got good eyes, man.
He really does.
Yeah.
Well, now you've tipped everyone off that he's the heel in this movie.
He's got just a tinge of the crazy eyes early on. He's got that intense stare.
In the defense of the character, he goes kind of rogue, right?
Yeah,
but he does feel like he's a U.S. Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah.
So he feels like he's doing the best interest of the United States.
But then he's being a little adversarial with Lindsay and everything, so there's at least maybe a
right. He's poking the bear,
poking the bear, maybe kind of like trying to usurp authority or whatnot. He feels like he should be calling shots, and I have some civilian telling him what to do.
And she's like the owner of the, like, whatever the rig is that they're working on. Is that the case?
I don't take it for certain. I think she like maybe helped design it or whatnot.
Yeah, I thought she was like the owner of the underwater operation, and then
Yeah.
Ed Harris is in charge of like running it.
Yeah. But yeah, that little thing in the little airlock, whatnot, when they're actually talking about the thing that makes his hand shiver and everything, and when he's getting like I'm not sure it's the bends or whatnot, but just a sort of a depressurization.
Great line.
Sort of a depressurization scenario, a sickness, whatnot.
Yeah.
That's not in the theatrical cut, so you never have that setup for why Biehn's character goes off the hilt later on in the film. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. When the theatrical cut got to cut out a lot of the stuff that's set up, what happens later on.
Right, you lose a little bit of context, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get heebie-jeebies by this guy's pet rat. Because rats in general are very, gross. But I have heard from multiple sources that rats make really good pets. Like if you get the clean, bred to be pet ones.
Not diseased, they're not.
Right, not New York City rats.
No.
Not back of the building rats. Chicago is the #1 most rat-infested city in the world, by the way.
Gravity.
Every year they come out with a list, right? And Chicago's #1 every year. I like the animosity between these two.
They got great energy. Little touches like that with the little dial thing.
Right, like she's just got to have her last word, right?
And he's got to turn it back.
I'm confused about what is a set and what is not a set, and is actually that whatever you said building they found in.
Well, all they found in South Carolina was just big concrete sort of crater or whatnot that was built partially for the nuclear power plants. And this stuff is all just regular sound stages, probably back in California or where the hell they were.
So that's crazy to me because this looks legit.
Whatever it was, they didn't find an actual rig they shot in, as far as I know. They just talked about the fact that they found this incomplete nuclear power plant, and it just had this big concrete structure they could fill with water and shoot everything that needs to be underwater there.
Got it. But like, when they shoot, the exterior of the, this oil rig or whatever they're working on, like, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
That they would build a set and submerge it.
Yeah.
Granted, he would go on to do Titanic, where he literally rebuilt the fucking boat and then sunk it.
Yeah.
Like, this, I guess, was a trial run for that.
Yeah.
But an underwater set of any kind is just, like, mind-blowing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Great chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Maxwell House.
There's the ring.
Well, that's kind of final, right? Like, he threw it in the toilet? What a statement.
Except.
Never mind.
Fuck.
It was a very hasty maneuver.
Yeah.
He didn't really think that through.
Especially the fact now his hand gets to be blue.
And his ring.
That's probably a nice piece of like research. Like they probably just have some sort of like chemical fluid to kind of keep the waste, the human waste,
right,
sanitized, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
They're not just kind of flowing water because probably doesn't make as much sense. Whatnot.
Well, I would assume it would just empty out into the ocean.
Yeah. Any which way, just Just a little touch. And it adds a little comedy for the character now. That he's got to explain why his hand's blue for the next couple of scenes.
Like, the rat is cute, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know people hate rats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know about the warheads.
I just wasn't really paying attention when in the story it was revealed that that's the reason they're going.
Yeah.
Is kind of look for survivors, but really, we got to get our nukes back.
Yeah.
All right, he's a heel. He's already a heel.
Yeah.
Isn't it unfortunate that military supervisors are always portrayed this way? Like, I get
Whip-cracking type of guys.
I get that there's an element of order. And like, I've seen A Few Good Men 100 times. I understand that there's rank, there's order, there's routine.
Yeah.
There's
fall in line situation.
Right. I make the rules. Everyone, the whole system works because you do what I say.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But at the same time, does everybody have to be an asshole about it? And I'm not saying just in this movie.
Sure, yeah.
I'm saying every movie. How many generals or corporals or whoever the leader is,
Majors, captains, yeah.
How many of them are actually looked at favorably on film? Not many.
It's tough.
You know what I mean? Like, how come nobody actually likes their boss in the military? I feel like in real life, somebody does. There's got to be some good ones out there.
Besides this, I was just thinking about it, unless it's like a Michael Bay film, who's got a major heart-on for the military. Like, super, absolute, undying respect.
Right.
And that the fact that I believe it's Michael Biehn and Ed Harris are in The Rock playing military men in that film as the bad guys. Now, this was controversial. So much so that this 4K and the Blu-ray and everything did not get released in the UK because UK demanded that they cut this scene from the movie. And they would not. Cam would not do it.
And
anything that shows harm to an animal, they won't allow it.
Now, they
Unless
actually...
it gets like a really, really just prohibitive certification out there.
Right. Now, they actually really drowned a rat here?
Yeah. This is all for real. And apparently what Cameron said about 20 years before this, he was at like a seminar or lecture or whatnot, like a demonstration of this actually being done with a real person.
Now, okay, so are they actually using the fluid?
Yes.
The real fluid that you can breathe underwater?
Cameron contacted the same scientist who did that entire demonstration 20 years before about this entire thing to get the right chemicals, the right fluid, how to go about the right procedure and everything. Well, odd thing is they shot the actual first version. Like, there was no, like, rehearsal with the rat or anything like that beforehand. They shot what they actually did the first time around, and it's in the movie. So he was thankful that it worked right.
So that rat was legit breathing underwater?
Yes, with this...
With the whatever fluid?
Oxygenated fluid, yes.
And why is it that 35 years later, this technology isn't being used everywhere?
I don't know about that.
Oh, I'm not asking you, I'm asking...
I figure at least...
But yes, I remember this being a thing. Like, the UK would not release the movie.
Yeah.
Because their version of the MPAA, or whatever their
BBFC.
governing body said, no.
And it just said, to get it released with the certification you want, you'll need to cut this scene. And Cameron refused. And it's like like I said, I think if they left it in and released it, they would have gotten a much more prohibitive rating and they wouldn't be able to sell it as easily.
But
so everyone just had to import it from U.S. or somewhere in Europe or something else like that. So
I guess I didn't realize, and I've only seen this movie 2 or 3 times prior to right now. I didn't realize that they were using the legit fluid, the real deal.
Yeah, the real concoction.
I always thought that they just kind of cut and, shot it from different... Because they do cut to other people in the scene, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's a trick of light where they come back and, they're only...
a dummy or something else like that. And
right. They show it
they
for...
had it under there for 2 seconds or something.
And then
like
they
that.
cut and, they just pieced it together.
Yeah, Cameron's going to do it for real. That's the simple fact of it.
He is wonderful, is he not? I love this guy. I realize he's a polarizing character.
Yeah, he butt heads about a lot of things. I've gone through phases where it's like, when he was like, 3D is the end-all, be-all of cinema and nothing else matters. I was like, I was really not on it.
When Avatar came out, he claimed publicly,
yeah,
I'm never going to make another movie that isn't in 3D.
So far, he's holding to that.
And... Well, right, because Avatar 2...
the 3D is not as prevalent now in theaters. Home
right.
video, fuck all. Barely anything at all.
You can't do it.
They don't make the TVs anymore. And even... I know, like, Warner Brothers, they put like, all the 3D versions out on, like, Warner Archives, or little kind of, like, short batch pressings and stuff like that, so... And you won't find it on Amazon or anything wide available like that. It would be very niche in that regard because just the market's shrunk.
Right, it doesn't happen. Right,
yeah.
You can't just buy a 3D TV at Walmart anymore.
The T2 3D version was only put out in Europe.
I have
never put it out in the U.S.
I have the fancy 4-disc set of Titanic that has the 3D version because for the 100th anniversary in 2012. Cameron re-released Titanic in cinemas in 3D.
Yeah,
I went and I saw it on the anniversary, the one literally April 14th, 2012.
Yeah,
the 100th to the day of the sinking. I saw it in 3D and nearly cried. I probably did cry. I cry a lot.
Yeah.
And so I have the fancy 4-disc one that has the documentary on it. And all of that good stuff, but obviously I don't have a 3D TV to watch it in.
Yeah.
I also have the 4K that I was gifted. I have always enjoyed this movie, The Abyss.
Yeah.
But I didn't buy the 4K like you did, clearly. Sure. So.
Jesus Christ.
That's a lot. And that was each one of the canisters?
One.
Okay.
Basically obliterate the world. In a way, there's something this really kind of taps in. There's a whole little bit of the Cold War thing in the whole film and whatnot, but in the 80s, a lot of the ecological stuff was getting a lot of... Everyone had their own causes about the entire thing.
So you're saying this is in the North Carolina set, underwater?
I don't know.
Did they sink a submarine and then shoot around it?
I don't know if this might be miniatures.
Well, that could be. I just... I'm fascinated by the technology and what was filmed where.
This is clearly it, because that looks directly like Mastrantonio's in there.
The fact that I can't tell what's a miniature and what's not.
That's why it won the damn visual effects Oscar. And we haven't gotten to the CGI stuff yet.
Right.
The groundbreaking stuff they did. Oddly enough, it was a real short list that year. It was up against Back to the Future Part 2 and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
So it was going to win no matter what.
Yeah. Back to the Future Part 2, pretty good, but when we talked about it in the commentary, there were a few parts where the optical effect is a little dodgy. Some things are not quite as good, so you can see why it slipped off the edge. But it was a busy year for Industrial Light and Magic.
Like the shark coming out at you for the Back to the Future, for the Jaws.
Not that much, but But like it was a busy year for ILM because they were working on Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, The Abyss, and Back to the Future Part 2. So pretty much competing against themselves. No matter what got picked, there was almost the fact that they're going to be competing against themselves no matter what.
Well, they're the only game in town, you know?
They're the best game in town, at least. I mean, there's a couple...
The titties are going to the bottom of the ocean there.
I mean, there are a couple of effects houses at the time, but Cameron knew it has to be ILM. To go for... Just thinking about the pseudopod sequence and stuff like that later on, there's only one place to go, and it's ILM, George Lucas Effects Company. I have to go to these guys because... they're the top level.
How crazy is it to think that, like, we're going to take our actors.
Yeah.
We're going to put them in suits. We're going to put them underwater.
Yeah. And they all had to go through a scuba diving certification course in the Caribbean before.
That makes sense.
But in the old documentary, they said Ed Harris didn't have to because... they claimed it was like on his previous film, which I couldn't figure out which film it was, that he had already done the entire certification course. I don't know if it was just the one he did right before this or something that they did several years beforehand, but apparently he had already gone through that training, so he didn't have to do it. But if you're going to send me to the Caribbean, go through whatever you want me to.
Right, like, I'll do it. That's fine. Now, I personally could not do it because I have ear ruptured in 1995, and it's really thrown off my
equilibrium.
Yes, and I can't go, more than about 10 feet down.
Yeah.
You know, if I jump off the high dive, like, I'm fine until I get to the bottom, and then my head feels like it's going to explode.
And that kind of brings up the whole thing of, like, with Cameron being submerged, shooting the film for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Got to the point like, well, you have to sit there and decompress for like an hour or two. You just can't come up after that long. You can't be under that kind of water pressure for that long and just pop up and be fine. You're going to have problems. So they had to come up with solutions to kind of like feed an air tube up through his mask and stuff like that so he could kind of cut down on the time above water. But it was so much fun. Okay, he gets the air hose into the thing, but then he inverts himself so he keeps his heart and his head underwater at this like 3-foot depth while they turn the monitor upside down so he can watch dailies underwater while he decompresses. That's how crazy this man is.
I feel like
every single little thing to get as much compacted into the whole thing.
I don't know if that's worth it. Like if I'm Ed Harris or any of these actors.
And apparently they were shooting in this big tank for like, I think they said 10 hours a day for like 6 days a week for 6 weeks. That's a long time. And that's just the underwater stuff. That's not all the stuff that's in proper sets, all the wet, all the dry stuff. You can shoot a lot of regular films in 6 weeks. The entirety of a film in 6 weeks. Right.
I'm perusing Ed Harris's filmography.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not finding anything immediately beforehand.
Yeah, I was looking at like the last 3 or 4 films he did before this, and nothing stuck. I was like, that feels like you might have gone scuba diving, had something with scuba diving or underwater stuff. It's like the immediate thing before this was that De Niro film Jackknife. And it's like, it's a post-Vietnam veteran movie or whatnot, PTSD. I've seen him going through scuba training for that. And there's like a TV movie and some other things. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't find a notation about it on Wikipedia or IMDb about him doing a diving course or something, another film.
I mean, the only thing I could think of that's even remotely comparable was when he played John Glenn in The Right Stuff, but that was outer space.
Yeah.
So there's similarities, but I don't think you would have to...
It's not Apollo 13 where they're doing the stratosphere zero-G situation. I don't think Philip Kaufman was putting them through that stuff.
Crabs in the mouth. I like that. That's a great shot.
I think that was Philip Kaufman. Right Stuff.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
That blew my mind when I read that Ron Howard and team literally took the plane up and then dropped it, and so they were in zero gravity.
I'm due to rewatch that film. Well overdue. I saw that in the theater. God damn it! It was a really damn good film.
It is a really damn good film, and famously, Ron Howard had his like political campaign for the Oscar, and was so like, I don't know, driven, and was so like blatant about it that he actually was snubbed. It was a true use of the word snub.
He overdid it.
And I think to this day he's the only person to win the Directors Guild Award and not even be nominated for the Oscar because they shut him out. They were like, this guy...
We're a little too sick of this.
We're sick of it. He won't shut up. Like it was a political backlash.
Yeah. You got to modulate it.
And he thought that he was just like... He had the air that he was owed the Oscar because of his technical drive. And... Needless to say, he wasn't even nominated for the Oscar because they said, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
So he was truly snubbed.
Yeah.
I realize we're not doing a lot of talking about what's going on, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But...
Tangents.
Right. I mean, we've got a long way to go. We're still on the Montana, yes?
Right? It's Montana. Just makes me think of Hunt for October and Sam Neill saying, I always wanted to never get to see Montana.
That was the same year as this, right? 89?
The year afterwards. Yeah.
Oh.
Like...
Did that come out in
March
90?
1990.
Oh, I thought it came out in 89.
About 8 months later.
I love The Hunt for Red October.
Fabulous. Then you got Crimson Tide. A lot. Hard to find a bad submarine movie, man.
I really like U-571.
Okay.
That one I really like.
It was Jonathan Moss who did T3.
We got a little later on K-19, The Widowmaker came out.
And that's Bigelow with Harrison Ford.
Yep. Not as good as U-571. U-571 is worth revisiting. Anybody hasn't seen it.
Yeah. Nice.
That's a great shot.
Yeah.
Through the mask.
Oh yeah. And the particular thing with the mask, like regular scuba masks are just like they just give you the eyes.
Right.
And that's it. Well, like for filming, it's gonna suck.
Well, also
you need to see the face.
We can't tell who's who. I can barely tell who that is.
Right.
Through the mask.
Right.
Look at that through the.
Oh.
Where are we at here? 42 minutes, 41 minutes, because we talked for a second in the front of end. But now that's a significant plot point, right?
Yeah.
The first sighting of an extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Is he drowning?
Yeah.
What?
Hyperventilating.
Oh, because it's cold, probably, right?
I think it was something with the oxygen mix, yeah. That's why they kind of left him behind so he wouldn't exert himself.
I also would like to talk about how cold it would be in this water.
Oh, yeah, that far down.
That's one of my major gripes about the movie Titanic, is that they're in the North Atlantic, and everyone understands that at the end of the movie, when people are in the ocean, because the boat is sunk, those that made it and are floating die of hypothermia like within minutes, right? Oh, look at this shit.
Yeah.
Like, what a great optical effect.
Yeah.
Not only that little gimmick, but the little, the wave of
lighting and everything.
Right. There's that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
My problem with Titanic is, for the hour before, water is seeping into the boat.
Yeah.
And everyone's running around and wading through the water and it's making it look like just because they're inside the boat doesn't mean that water's not the same temperature as it is outside.
Right.
So, to my point, I feel like everyone that is even though they're in the wetsuits, which, help kind of keep you warm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where they are in the world.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
They might be in warmer water. However, if you're a mile down or whatever they are, like...
Cayman Trough.
Oh, well...
I guess Cayman Islands.
Cayman Islands, okay. So they're in a warm climate.
Yeah,
but...
Jamaica, Caribbean area.
Water a mile down is not...
Yeah.
Warm.
Surface level is okay, but once you get really far down... it doesn't make no difference.
I love the Garfield on the side of the...
Yeah, it's cute. Did art direction be able to find the place to add some personality?
And you didn't? But wasn't it her that just saw that?
She saw something and didn't really come directly into her view.
You gotta have a Russian, right? Like, for an extra bad guy.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we're right before the fall of the Berlin Wall, so we're still strong enough on the Cold War villainy to work on it. I mean, this really is kind of a real kind of I don't know if it's perfect or whatnot, but a very pivotal sort of like end of the Cold War sort of narrative in that regard. It's like everything's at tensions. You got nuclear weapons, U.S. and Russia on kind of on the brink or whatnot.
Oh right, you gotta have Cuba in there too, right?
Yeah.
If you're
Fidel.
If you're looking at bad guys in the world, it's the Cubans and Russians.
Right. If you're plus you've been right in that Caribbean area. It's not a whole hell of a lot of ways away from Cuba.
I've been to Jamaica 6 times. Part of getting Jamaica is you fly over Cuba.
Yeah, sure.
And so, I don't know, I always look down and I'm like,
there you go.
Thinking about all the shit that has transpired in that land below me.
Yeah.
They're pretty close. Like,
yeah, well, that's why a lot of them come into the tip of Florida.
I don't like her. I think she overacts.
Maybe a tad, yeah.
These are the Navy SEALs that are going down?
Yeah. That looks like a rear screen projection situation.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't look great.
No.
This guy's gonna blow chunks.
15-second scene. It's fine, then you're just inside the set here. Yeah, guy on the left's got a good military look.
And he's just casually eating a cheeseburger or whatever it is.
Like he's a freaking corner or something.
Right.
Or a corpse.
That trope of the coroner always eating a sandwich, for me, started with Friday the 13th Part 4, which I watched just last night as we're recording this. And it's so sloppy. It looks like tuna salad or something. It's just leaking out the sides. He don't give a shit.
Christmas shit.
Right, that's right. Holy Jesus jumping Christmas shit.
And I guess a lot of this Cold War stuff was not as much in the theatrical version. So again, I don't know. I mean, I understand, like, okay, if the effects at the end of the film maybe not quite as good. They're not quite ready for it. We'll probably cut them out and kind of finagle the ending of the film. But they cut a lot of these beats that just take a lot of the thematic substance out. The overall tensions of the story away from it. It seems peculiar in that regard. Like, I don't know if 20th Century Fox was kind of pushing, like, get the runtime down.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I
wonder if that's more of a case in that regard.
I feel like in 1989, there's not a lot of 3-hour epics.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
And Fox says, I don't know if we want to go into this territory, right?
Yeah.
And
we banked a lot of money on this. Like I said, that's about $50 million in that time. And it's only cost roughly about 45 to 50 million. Only carried back 90 at the box office.
What's the release date on this?
August 8th of 1989.
Okay, so we're actually releasing this right about the exact anniversary.
Yeah.
And at this point, we've already, the big box office.
Yeah.
All of the movies that were hits, like even Batman, was 2 hours or less. And I just feel like they're not
twitchy on it,
right? And they're thinking, people have already spent their money on Batman and Harry and Sally and all
Lethal Weapon 2,
right? And
Indy Jones,
all of these, and if the studio says chop it down,
let's get an extra 2 or 3 screenings in per day.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, what it is. Yeah.
Even if it's just, we need to cut it because people won't be interested in sitting for that long.
Yeah.
What do you cut, right? Like, you don't want to cut your special effects.
No, because that's what the money is.
Right. You don't want to cut the action. You don't want to cut people almost dying. So, let's get rid of the subtext of Russia.
Yeah.
And, stuff that people might not care about.
Yeah.
Talking, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of talking.
Yeah. Because again, unlike Terminator and Aliens, it's not an action movie. There's moments of thrilling tension, stuff like that, but it's not that type of film. This is a science fiction character drama to a large part of the whole thing. So if they want to focus more on special effects, a little more the stuff has a little more edgier seat suspense or whatnot, yeah, edge towards that.
There's something I've always wondered about, is when there is a hurricane up north at sea level, like on the surface.
Okay.
What's happening with the water underneath?
Sure, yeah.
Like, obviously, there's wind, right? There's tornado winds blowing hundreds of miles an hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Creating waves.
Yeah.
But the waves are on the surface.
Right.
Like, I want to know what's happening a quarter mile down.
Yeah.
Is that water also moving at the same rate?
Is it changing density or something else like that? I mean, is there...
Like, clearly
the surface temperature is probably radically changing. Is that also changing things further
exactly.
down?
Like,
a lot of different things.
I would love to be in the water underneath the hurricane as a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Great shot, right? You can't...
Yeah.
So the hurricane's pulling the top thing along.
Yeah, the crane.
Which is somehow tethered to the station below.
Yeah. And now it's all gone.
What a shot. So the big crane falls into the trench.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, still tethered to the ship, which means that it's going to pull on it. And pull it under with it. I think is the idea, yeah?
If it is still connected. It's going to crash into the whole place.
Yeah, I was kind of under the impression that the crane was falling into the trench and therefore going to pull the rig behind it.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing that happens. I think it's disconnected from the surface, but it's still connected down here, and it's on a trajectory to crash into the entire rig.
This is, this is kind of action movie-esque.
Yeah.
In this section. But, like, is she really driving this thing around underwater?
I feel like some of those, a shot like that, I feel like they did a miniature, but then kind of did an optical superimposition on top of it.
To put her face in the hole.
But even then, still trying to track that around is not easy doing opticals. I know there was maybe like an early Star Trek film or something like that. They would kind of like put like a little projector type of thing, or just like some sort of still or whatnot. They kind of show like there's something in, show like the interior of it without I actually had to like do a composite or something else like that.
There's your crane.
Yeah.
You missed us.
But now it's going to fall and drag them in with it.
Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning. That's what I thought was happening. Okay. That's what I was getting at.
Okay, I thought you meant like the ship on the top was still tethered to it and it was going to drag that.
No. I thought the crane was going to bring the rig on over the edge.
Definitely the case here. That's thousands of tons worth of stuff there. What are you going to do about it?
You got to cut it. What a great plot point.
Mm-hmm.
Did he write this solo, or did he write it with Hurd, or did he write it with who's getting credit for writing this thing?
Written and directed by James Cameron, solo. A good score from Alan Silvestri here.
He's always good for a good time.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if his score is still available anywhere.
Great handheld camera work here, following behind to kind of create the chaos.
Yeah, score is still available.
You know, this is, it looks like a backstage promo on WWE. It's just real jittery and, when the camera is moving around like this, you, as the viewer, aren't really sure what's up and what's down and where you're at, which, what a great shot of the rat floating away in the bag, rat in the bag. Which is exactly what the characters are going through, so...
Yeah. It's always interesting when you have to create this sort of controlled chaos for a sequence like this. Like, it has to seem like everything is going completely wrong and there's heightened danger all over the place, but you have to design it in a way where it looks convincing. Like, everything's getting wrecked, but you have control over where no one's going to get hurt actually shooting the sequence.
Well, that's probably part of the reason for the close-ups and the chaotic movement, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can, if you get real close up on something and shake the camera around, as the viewer, you can't really tell what else is happening in the background.
Right.
So therefore, you can focus in on just one little piece and tear the set down a little at a time.
Yeah.
Because, like, in my opinion, like, how would you ever shoot that again? Like, back at one and put everything back and then let's go again.
Oh, yeah.
How do you do that? Like that.
Oh, yeah.
You shoot all that water in there, and then what? You reset and go, well, put all the cables back and...
Drain the set.
Right. Like, clearly everything wasn't done in one take, but
Oh yeah.
I'm getting flashbacks from Deep Blue Sea here.
A little bit. Those CGI sharks, though.
The hand on the portal is good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying with the chambers and the,
Oh yeah.
maneuvering around the ship.
Airlock doors and
Right,
everything.
right,
yeah.
right.
Oh my god.
I imagine that people felt wet for
Forever.
years after this movie.
Like, I think one of the guys on one, I don't know if it was like a cast or just like diving team. It's like, oh, I wanted to break from this whole thing, so I went off to an island on the beach and went scuba diving anyway.
Like, why? I
You're
would.
trapped in a cycle.
And, we, as laymen watching the movie, we have no idea what.
The functions and whatnot.
Right. So,
You can just kind of surmise it's probably like a hydraulic hose, and if you cut that, then all the pressure from it goes away.
right, like we don't know the science or
Yeah.
the technology.
Yeah.
So we'll buy anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He says cut the hose, fuck it. That's going to do the job.
Yeah.
Who are we to say that that's
Yeah.
wrong,
Uh-huh.
But I'd be willing to bet that James Cameron knows exactly how all of this shit
straight
works.
Up, yeah.
You know what I mean? He researched the fuck out of it.
Like he kissed the wedding ring.
That's now no longer blue thanks to the ocean. Getting a little rinse off. And now it's sitting right on the brink.
Yeah.
Great behind light. Like, where's
Yeah,
that light
the
coming
backlight,
from?
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice, solid sequence to just get the blood pumping. You got new threat coming up on the whole thing, new dynamics to work off of, and plus the SEAL team are still out there somewhere trying to trying to salvage or deactivate the warheads.
Now, are the SEAL team down at the submarine?
Yeah,
Okay. Because I know they escaped out of there
yeah,
on their own rogue Michigan.
Yeah.
Mission, not Michigan.
because the ship captain said like it was 2 hours.
Oh, that they were going to be gone?
Yeah.
He followed the sign. They got a pinball machine. Can't quite tell what it is. Harris, shine your light over just a smidge more. It'd be great if it was like a Terminator or, something. Were all the other movies...
Okay, they're already back.
Were the other movies also filmed by Fox, like Terminator and them?
No, Terminator was MGM, well, Hemdale, and then got picked up by Orion and everything, and Ryan Kellogg goes to MGM later on, but Aliens was.
Aliens is a
show.
Fox? Okay,
Yeah.
so they could have had an Aliens pinball
Yeah,
machine.
I'm sure there was one.
That would have been fun. I love shit like that. When it's done right.
Sure, yeah.
having gone through a crisis, these two both look pretty well put together. Like, her hair still looks good. Like, did she not get wet at all? I mean, look at her. She looks like she's been here in the tool room for the whole thing. He just got, nearly drowned. His shirt's not even wet. Like, what?
Maybe he changed. I don't know.
We are an hour in.
Yeah.
And so, slightly more than a third.
Yeah.
And that was the first indication that she is somewhat okay with Ed Harris again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Which it should be.
Yeah.
I don't know if this movie needs to be 3 hours, though. Like, I'm kind of siding with 20th Century Fox on this one. Maybe not cutting
the substantive stuff,
right?
Find some way to
Like, there's got to be some side storyline or something that you could tighten it up with to make the pace a little more palatable for the 1989 audience and us sitting here talking about it 35 years later. Not to say it's bad.
No. Just looking at it from a certain perspective, like maybe there could be some pacing improvements here and there. Yeah.
Like, I get that this is kind of that reassess, regroup portion. Like, we just had our, the roller coaster moment.
Yeah.
And now as an audience and as characters, everyone needs to kind of just look around and see what's what.
All right.
So you're for the roller coaster aspect, I feel like we're okay mathematically, but it just feels like we need to get to the point here. Not to the point, but we need to keep it moving.
Yeah. Keep a trajectory in sight of what the larger story is about.
Right. And I guess that they did complicate things by destroying half of their ship.
Yeah.
So, now you legit have half of the team who's only focused on the nukes, and half of the team that couldn't give a shit about the nukes and just are worried about their
own safety,
their business, their
livelihood.
Yeah. So, there's a built-in clash of interest, I guess she's not an owner, but she's management.
Yeah. On Wikipedia says it was summarized that she was the one who helped design the rig. So, in a way, it's hers.
That's kind of what I always thought. That she, had the ownership. Like, that was her interest in it, was that, she built it or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting kind of gender flip. Like, in the 80s, I don't know if there were a lot of roles of women that were like significantly higher power than the man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Progressive. I mean, talking about Cameron in that regard, like, it's tough to hold down a relationship with him, but he has known so much for like a lot of progressive female roles that he has written.
Right. Starting with Terminator.
Yeah.
And then, I guess he can't really take credit for Ripley because he didn't create that, but...
He got Sigourney Weaver to her Oscar nomination, so that's worth a goddamn.
I agree. And then...
One of the 3 Oscar nominations she's gotten in her career, so... She's damn good.
And then, we've got this one where he doesn't make her, a worker on the ship. He makes her the owner of the business, or the designer of the business, or
the engineer behind
Look at
the
that.
rig and everything. Again, the reactive lighting is really good. I mean, but they're able to marry that between practical reactive lighting and what they're doing with the visual effect after the fact.
Now, it's always interesting to see what people come up with for an idea as far as aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
This actually feels like an underwater creature. Which is also kind of interesting, because if it's not from the Earth, that implies that wherever it came from also has water.
Yeah. And then, because that wasn't enough.
Well, that was the little feeler.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a greater implication.
Yeah, yeah. And being an actress, having to react to this, and what you got, a lighting rig to look at on set?
Maybe nothing. Probably nothing. There might have been. Is she even on? Like, where is she? Is this part of the underwater set?
Oh,
Clearly it is.
Yes.
But she's like literally standing looking at a brick wall underwater.
Look at a whole bunch of nothing.
A concrete wall.
Yeah.
And maybe Cameron shines a light on her, and uses a spotlight underwater or something to indicate.
To give a focal point.
Because, her face is lit, so,
yeah.
like, clearly there's light. But she's reacting to nothing. Which is great acting.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it was the interesting thing with that entire tank that they manufactured. Originally, to have the freedom to shoot all day long, they constructed a giant black tarp over the whole thing, but then they had a giant storm coming in one day, and everyone had to get out of the whole tank because lightning and stuff like that. But as Cameron surfaced, the entire thing got ripped apart, and now we're all on nights. We can't shoot during the day because all the sunlight will come through and ruin everything. So
they couldn't just put it back? Like, rebuild it?
Probably just didn't have the time, the resources to be able to stop production and remanufacture the thing. So now they had to switch all the, like, nighttime shoots and everything, and it was just... It made a difficult situation even worse, because now you gotta flip your days and nights around, which I know is a fucking hell. And every imaginable thing. Between the diving for everyone involved, cast and crew, and dealing with perfectionist James Cameron, and shooting this thing for months and months and months. I mean, Lord Almighty, physically grueling is what he called it.
I feel like this is the midpoint. It might not be, it's not quite mathematically the midpoint, but she's telling the team...
It's the pivot point for her character, yeah.
Right, she's telling the team, there are aliens.
I imagine it's probably when the pseudopod comes in, then they all are on board with that. That would probably when it happens, but yeah. This is the start of that pivot, yeah.
Well, it's not space if they're underwater.
You're not helping me. It's a conspiracy theory tinfoil hat man.
It's interesting, like when you when you think about the actual physics of it, like outer space doesn't have an end point.
No.
Like
it's scary to think about.
It is scary. We don't know how far it goes. Yeah. It just goes,
and we will never know.
We'll never know.
No.
However, the ocean has a finite bottom.
Yeah.
Like,
and scope and depth and everything.
Right. We can map it, I suppose, but we still don't know. Like, that's what is almost more scary to me. Like, the fact that it's here.
Yeah.
It's a contained. We have access to it.
Yeah.
It has a beginning and an end. Yet we still don't know what's in it. Like, it's so easy to say, well, we don't know what's in outer space because it just goes on forever.
Yeah.
Like, you can easily wrap your mind around that because you almost let it go.
Yeah.
But the ocean,
It's part of our ecology.
it has a beginning and an end. But we still can't figure out what's in the middle.
Yeah.
God, it's scary and fascinating, and I fucking love it.
I mean, her acting is so good.
Well, think about what I've always said, the it could happen to me theory.
Yeah.
So put yourself in her shoes. As a person, you have seen something that is unbelievable that you've never seen and you feel like nobody else has ever seen. You're one of one.
And it's gorgeous.
Sure.
To her perspective.
Now you have to try to explain and convince.
Yeah.
And both of those things are impossible.
Yeah. Just the glow she has. Oh.
He's wonderful.
Oh yeah, Biehn's great. Yeah, I've heard things that in his career, he had some substance issues, like maybe alcoholism or something like that. So
Okay.
people have speculated that some of that might have contributed to why he didn't get as big as he could have been. But you look at this, look at Tombstone. Val Kilmer gets all the credit in the world for Tombstone. I think he deserves as much credit for what he did in that film as well. Those two are just electric in every scene they got together.
Tombstone is underrated.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Basically, they're saying, you're not the boss of me.
Uh-huh. Here's the divide right here. Oh, yeah. He's got the crazy eyes now.
Love this scene.
Oh, yeah.
As we record this, Ed Harris is 73 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes him 35 years ago, he would have been younger than we are now.
Yeah.
Even though he looks like he's in his late 40s. Michael Biehn does the convention circuit, yeah.
Regularly, yeah. It's usually him and his daughter. Little spy on you.
Bihn's also been married 3 times, so he's not very far behind Jimmy Cameron.
Had a rough time of it, yeah. So Cameron's a bit of the control freak, and Biehn had his issues. I mean, Cameron didn't have quite as much of a troupe as a John Carpenter or some other guys, whatnot. But
he didn't make as many films, though. You know what I mean?
But he kept himself tethered to a few people, like Bill Paxton brings back a couple times. Biehn's third film with him. bring it back for T2 for the special edition cut.
Which is the better cut, as we discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cameron is much more crafty.
Yeah.
And, takes his time. He wants to make a really good product.
Yeah.
He's not so much worried about just churning them out.
Yeah, a lot more of a big idea guy.
Right. So the distance betwixt the films also helps or hurts having a troupe.
Yeah.
Right?
Regular work and everything. Call them up every year or whatnot.
John Carpenter's making a movie every year.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to grab your Tom Atkins and your
Charles
whoever.
Cyphers,
sure, I mean Curtis or whoever.
Yeah.
And just say, well, do you want to go again?
Yeah.
Let's just go to the next one.
But one person who's not going to work with Cameron again is Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. She's not interviewed on any of the bonus features. She ain't got nothing to say anymore. She want nothing to do with this no more. She fucking hated it.
I imagine it was just the grueling shoot that did it to her, or
I'm guessing so. They were just like, it didn't gel as much with them. I mean, Ed Harris is interviewed. Pretty much most of the cast is interviewed on the old documentaries and everything, but yeah, she did not volunteer to interject her thoughts about things.
You'd think that if she had a beef, she'd be wanting to air it, or talk it out, or come to a resolve it.
Something. I mean, Ed Harris is like, he's on the original documentary, and he'll admit, yeah, it was tough, it was grueling and whatnot, but I feel like he's an actor, like he's up for a challenge. He's like kind of shy away from because it's a little demanding. It's a lot demanding on this one, but probably not everyone probably knew quite as much what they're getting into. But he seemed like an actor who's willing to go for it and try to make the most of everything.
I like that he's got his finger on the trigger.
Yeah,
like that's a small touch.
And he's still kind of the twitchy hand and everything. Yeah, it's a really damn good performance from him.
I wonder if. I don't think she does public appearances, right? Like Mastrantonio, like
a convention or anything like that.
Right,
no.
like I don't know. Like if we ran into her, would she sign my Abyss poster kind of thing? You know what I mean? Because I know there's people out there that like don't want anything to do with certain things.
Yeah.
I heard a rumor, and I think we've talked about this. Sure. I heard a rumor that I think it's Johnny Depp that doesn't want to like be associated with nightmare stuff.
Okay.
Which is weird to me.
Well, he's
like he's beyond it, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't embrace it though.
I mean, the fact he came back and did a cameo in Freddy's.
Right. Maybe it's just a rumor. Like maybe the person that came up with that.
Considering all the things he's been through the last decade or so with fucking divorces and court battles, I don't know if he's doing all that much in fan interaction stuff.
Yeah, I feel like my only shot would be to go to see a Hollywood Vampires concert.
And with Joe Perry and Alice and everything.
And like accidentally run into him in the back or whatever, Wait by the bus kind of situation.
Yeah, I've been there.
Usually those kinds of... I feel like Alice Cooper would talk to people
would be fine.
all night long.
He's
but
chill.
And Perry's got nothing to do now.
No, I just saw Aerosmith was wrapping up a finale tour, I guess.
Well, so...
I mean, they're fucking 70s, I'm sure, too.
So, as we're recording this, the news just broke recently. As you probably know, Steven Tyler's voice has been injured for a long time. He's had surgeries.
It only keeps up for so long.
Right. And so, as of, I don't know, maybe less than a week ago, the doctor said it's not getting better. They literally canceled the rest of the tour and said, that's it. We have to stop immediately today.
Yeah, it's sad.
And so, it's over. Aerosmith is done, and half of the tour is remaining and will now go unfulfilled. Yeah. So, R.I.P. to Aerosmith, and as somebody who, now I have no professional career, but, you know, my heart breaks for Steven Tyler and his voice.
A little Coke for you.
And the character's name's Coffee, so it's literally my two favorite things on the
Coke
planet.
And coffee. A lot of caffeine.
God, I love Coca-Cola.
You got 2 for the classic.
Well, sure. Double heads. I don't know where they're storing the boxes of syrup. Something's... I can't quite read
focus.
it. I can't quite read it.
And the light's not on it directly.
Very blue movie.
Yes.
And now, as somebody, you know more about this shit than I do, is that a... there was no fix it in post. Like, that didn't happen back then. So this is like...
Just photochemical color timing. Yeah.
Now, do you think that he used like a blue gel over the camera?
I imagine that's the case.
Like everything is...
Yeah, just gels with the lenses and everything off the lights.
Right, like they make like a blue cellophane kind of thing, right? That goes in front of the camera lens. Well,
not the lens that goes in front of
the lighting, rather. The lighting. I'm sure some people listening to this have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
So you put a cellophane over the lighting that changes, the whole room looks blue.
As you can tell, that one in the hallway is a lot warmer, but a lot of the halogens, or whatever you want to call it, in here are all very much on that bluish-greenish side.
And like there's probably, for the story purposes, there's light under the water, but thought maybe we do a little deep dive on the technical aspect.
Yeah, so...
You know, the alien's just having a little look-see.
Yeah.
Trippy, right? Like, oof.
I mean, this comes up at so much of a time when you could still show an audience something they had never seen before in terms of visual effects, and just all the hell out of them.
Well, I don't know about that part, but the
what we're getting
coming up out of the water
what we're getting to.
That looks like white light there, just straight up regular light.
Mm-hmm.
How do you suppose they did this? Is it like a...
It's got to be some, I don't know.
Kind of lens that...
I don't know. It might have been a little bit of a lens. I don't know. There's just some sort of ripple effect they're adding on this thing somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, can you take the lens and like unscrew it so that it's blurry on the sides or something,
Not to create so much of a liquidy effect in this regard.
Like, I'm curious how...
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how you do it pre-digital.
Right. Like, they had to, film it.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
This is a precursor to the T2, right?
Yeah, T1000.
The T1000?
Yeah.
So we're an hour 28 in.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if this is more... This has got to be more than halfway.
Just a tad bit, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
I love that reaction. The double take.
Yeah.
And he's going to throw the fake Monstera at it.
And when Cameron met with ILM pretty much right off the bat, can we do this? Is it possible? And they didn't have anything hard and fast saying,
Look at that. It mirrors her.
Yeah. They had to do like laser scans of the actors' faces to do this. But yeah, like Dennis Muren, the visual effects supervisor, he said, we can do it. They didn't know how they were going to do it, but they knew they could figure it out. So they had to write software for it. It took them about 8 months or so for the entire thing to come together for this one sequence. So Cameron went to him pretty much right off the bat, and we had to get the live action plates to us as early as possible so we can have it ready by the time everything else is finished.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, or in the shoes of the audience members.
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't see shit like this.
No. Because the only other option was like do claymation. It could have been okay, but it wouldn't. It would have been stop motiony, jittery. It wouldn't have been as nowhere as smooth. It wouldn't have had the exact same effect.
It wouldn't have looked clear like that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't even make a puppet.
No.
You know, like Nightmare 3 giant wormy thing.
Yeah.
Like that would have looked terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it's a digital effect.
Yeah.
You know, cutting edge for sure.
Yeah.
Again, they're acting
Reacting
to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Now.
Now it's not quite so
Well,
happy.
now you pissed it off.
Yeah.
You done pissed it off, Biehn. You fucking heel with your mustache. Meanwhile, Joe Walsh here is...
Ready to start toking it away.
a Russian water tentacle. Is that RWT for short, I'm sure. They're very common. And now we've created a whole new issue.
Yeah. Is it something to fear or is it something to embrace?
Right, exactly. What a fascinating concept that this thing has.
Ooh.
Oh, he's a cutter.
Yeah. He's really fucked up.
That's a whole thing, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, to him, everything's a threat.
Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, why is every military person just an asshole?
I mean, it's not. It's amplifying his already.
Right, like they've set up his character as being like off the rails already. You know,
Yeah.
not quite all there.
Yeah, it's a paranoia from a high pressure nervous system syndrome. So that's what they're setting up early on in the film. That's why he has the jitters and everything, and it's kind of causing this psychological breakdown for him. He's not thinking straight because of this.
And they wouldn't cut that out of the movie.
They cut the setup for it out of the movie, so it just seems more like naturally he's just a psycho. Instead of giving you a setup for
An explanation.
a logical reason why he psychologically deteriorates through the whole film. And because he's kind of sets up as a bit of that antagonistic, slightly control freak, he's not going to acquiesce to saying, hey, there's something wrong with me, and take himself out of the game. He's a little too... almost too macho in that
Okay,
regard.
so looking at it from that point of view, 20th Century Fox says we got to cut some time. By cutting out that explanation,
It's like a 2-minute scene, maybe.
right, but
Yeah.
what you do is you take away the audience's empathy for
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
and make him an actual bad guy,
Yeah.
not a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's kind of good.
In a way.
Like, I like the explanation.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to have the full story.
Yeah.
I love that he's got warheads walking around with him. He's... What are you going to do with it? Other than shoot it at the aliens.
Yeah.
Now, is the narrative right now that they're not being rescued because of the hurricane?
I'm guessing so. Yeah, they can't. I'm guessing there's just too much of a danger involved with that.
Like, I'm curious why there hasn't been any storyline about why aren't they coming to get us. The only explanation I can think of is the hurricane. Meanwhile, he's like manning the subs here, like. Isn't it interesting that his character, Coffee, is spent the first part of the movie hell-bent on, like, getting the nukes back.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want him
exerting his authority and recovering the mission.
But now it's, well, now that I have them, I need to use them against the new threat.
Yeah.
As opposed to following the orders that were given to me.
Right.
Which is what he wants the rest of them to do, is follow his orders, but he doesn't have to follow the orders given to him.
Which makes the setup for his condition work better, because now it's like there's a reason why he's not thinking any bit rationally in that regard as a military man, because he's all his neurology's been all fucked up. So he's erratic, he's dangerous, he's unpredictable, he's not thinking straight. It makes it more of the dimensional turn in that regard, instead of like flat, he's just a psychopath. Looking at the main cinematographer's credit, Michael Solomon, he shot Arachnophobia and Backdraft.
Backdraft is fucking beautiful.
I don't know if he...
I need to rewatch Backdraft.
Danish cinematographer. Last credit was in 92. Still around, he's almost 80.
And he was the cinematographer for this?
Yeah. Started all the way back in the 60s. Wow, looks like a lot of Danish films. Documentaries too.
So he did The Abyss, Arachnophobia, Backdraft, and then retired.
That's what it seems like.
Like, what a trilogy, and then you're done.
Unless the Wikipedia thing is more of a highlights, not the full thing, but...
Dude, Backdraft is so fucking beautiful. I don't know how you photograph fire like that, but... There's not enough movie.
From water to fire.
There's not enough.
Very elemental.
Right. And Arachnophobia was very earthy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Maybe he shot the right stuff. I don't know.
Maybe need some wind.
Right. We need it. We need an air sign.
Earth, wind, and fire. You should have shot an Earth, Wind, and Fire concert.
Well, that would have done it. There are not enough fireman movies out there, in my opinion, as the son of a fireman, who went to see Backdraft with my dad in the cinema.
There you go.
Like, we had Ladder 49, but that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, almost to the day as we record this.
Yeah.
I think it was October.
There's that Frequency with Caviezel and Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, but that wasn't...
Not focused on it, but at least Dennis Quaid's character was a fireman.
Frequency is such an underrated movie.
Oh, it's a wonderful film, yeah.
Highlighted by the Garth Brooks song that was new for the movie at the end credits, and I was so hot that he didn't get nominated for an Oscar.
Actually, on the DVD and Blu-ray, Michael Kamen provides a commentary for his own score in the film.
Really?
God
wow.
Damn.
for Frequency.
Yes.
What a great movie. Yeah, but I'm saying we
Yeah,
need
like a
more
through and
movies about
through
firefighters.
Lifestyle of the firefighter.
Yeah. We need more of them. I know there have been others since.
They made a Backdraft sequel.
Yeah.
Let's not talk that much more about it.
I didn't watch it.
But
Now, admittedly, I was getting down to their undies.
yeah.
I was watching not the subtitles, so
So
what
Coffee has kind of cornered everything off where they can't get to it through the regular interior, so they're going to swim around to another airlock
Got
and
it.
kind
end
of
around
ambush him in that regard.
Got it. Now, at this point, the water is freezing,
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
and they would be. Now, this has got to be.
Hypothermia in not terribly long second.
This is that soundstage you're talking about that they built
this is
underwater.
definitely
The Carolina.
Yeah, the South Carolina tank.
I've already, if I was holding my breath, I would already not. Been
Oh
in.
yeah, it'd be hard. Not Martin Riggs.
Well, I was like 6 minutes underwater in Lethal Weapon 4.
The other day I was trying to remember, well, okay, what are the finales of the Lethal Weapons? Okay, the fourth one is turns into Aquaman.
I remember sitting in the theater being so mad.
Again, Lethal Weapon 3 ends with fire. Lethal Weapon 4 ends with water.
Sure does. Lethal Weapon 2 also ends with a little fire. Right? Oh,
No,
well.
they're on the ship.
Oh, you're right, on the ship.
And on the first one, they're also on the lawn, and I think there's like a hose of raining or something like that.
Yeah. The fire hydrant, maybe, from the cop.
Hydrant, yes. So
Yeah.
very elemental.
Very
there.
water fire based. Yeah, because the ship on the water, obviously. Right, diplomatic immunity, and the crate falls on him.
Yeah.
Got it. 3 is the one that ends in the fire
Yes.
with the
You
construction site.
Hit up our whole commentary stage. We did them all.
Yeah, we should start like counting them off and putting the count at the beginning. Commentary number, whatever. What are you doing, sir? Is he like thinking it over? I feel like I already need to towel off, and I'm not even in the movie. Like everyone's just wet.
Yeah. I don't want to take another shower for like a year after this.
I know. And there were multiple times in which he almost drowned in this movie,
he's
right?
Fucking freezing too.
Like, was this one of them? When he swam with the guy just now under the...
Yeah.
How does he not see him or hear him? How do you not hear the water? Water makes very distinct sounds when you're getting out of it.
Yeah. Eye acting too is good.
Yeah, he has that ability to just play any era.
Yeah.
Like, I know you don't love a period piece, even though in Tombstone he's great.
Yeah.
But, like, tell me he couldn't be, in the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
Or in Roman times, or...
Oh, he's going the wrong way with it.
Yeah, that was dumb. You're dumb.
Got the safety or...
Yeah, he almost bit the bullet, literally. Now, has his own team turned on him also at this point? Is he acting alone, or
because I know they've definitely acting alone in here. They captured the one guy. They're duct taping it up.
I know they've got him captured.
He's not really fighting against it.
Here's what I was saying before about the chaos, right?
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
can,
nice. It's just
you can kind of shoot real close up. You know, you only have to swing that thing around a couple times. Like, notice how the camera's not still.
Yeah.
It's
nice handheld work.
It's really just moving around, even right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just watching them work. It's jittery.
Yeah. But it's not like some of the later shaky cam action stuff. Things are very well lit.
Well,
the shots aren't too tight where you're not like, what the fuck is this?
Right, you can't.
Everything's distinctive in the frame.
Right, you're able to tell what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice shot.
Big roundhouse right out of the pro wrestler here.
Yeah.
I like the little trickle of blood in the water.
Oh, yeah.
I love this guy.
Yeah,
he's been in a bunch of stuff. I don't remember his name, but...
Check my list over here.
Cat is who we need. Cat.
Lou Burmester. Catfish DeVries.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, give it to him. I think he's a little more adept.
Oh, Leo Catfish died in 2007.
That's sad.
He was only 63.
Huh.
Sorry, I was looking up his filmography here. Yeah, it's sad. I didn't know he died.
Yeah.
I love that it's designed like a shark. That makes me happy. Good blood.
Yeah.
I'm always happy when blood looks real and not orange and Dawn of the Dead style. Like, that looks like real blood.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
You got the old race against time here. What a nice little plot device.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just open the door and cut the line.
Yeah.
That looks a little CGI, but...
It's a little jittery, stop-motion-y, I think. Thankfully, I don't think they use it quite so much.
Yeah, I was going to say something a little earlier. Oh, yeah. Fuck that tape. That was Elvis, probably. Fine Young Cannibals, maybe. But They showed it a little earlier.
Yeah.
That pinchy
Yeah, the
crane
arm.
thing. The grabber. The graboid.
Grabber. Ethan Hawke there.
Yeah, we've covered grabbers and graboids
Yes.
on the channel, so take your pick in the archives now. Love that little shot in the fisheye
Yeah.
lens. And now we got a little game of bumper cars. Can you imagine shooting this? Although some of it might be miniatures, like you said.
Yeah, I think the exteriors are probably miniatures.
But really well done to the point
Oh,
where
yeah.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's not a miniature.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows how much money is on screen with this whole thing, that you can maybe build the full-size ones, but then use more the, like maybe a radio-controlled miniatures for more the high-impact
Intricacies,
stunt type
yeah.
things. And they just blend totally. It'd be easier to crash some little kind of like scaled down model thing and have them crash into each other instead of taking like the big thing that probably cost you a couple of tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And risk damaging it.
But clearly they're in a real thing there.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by this.
Like that looks like they just kind of
Right.
maybe like did like a video screen behind it or something to kind of just get it to work inside the miniature.
Right.
Oh fuck.
It's funny because this is almost similar to the thing in Aliens, right? Where Ripley's in the...
Power loader?
Yeah.
A little bit.
You know, it's like... And then the same thing happens in Avatar. Because
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver's in that giant
Okay.
gimmick thing. Where she's controlling the...
Okay.
So it's like...
Repeating motif.
Yeah, he's got a type.
You got a thing.
He's got a type, a fetish. And at this point, what is Biehn's objective?
I'm guessing he just wants to get that thing down to whoever he thinks the aliens are.
But he doesn't have the nuke anymore.
No, that thing just sank to the bottom of
Right,
the ocean.
right. So what's he, like, I don't... Now he's just pissed and now we're going to bumper car? Like, I don't know what he's trying to accomplish.
Sure.
Unless he's just trying to destroy them at this point.
Possibly. Just vile retribution, I guess.
Well, I mean, he is crazy, right? So,
yeah.
God, the millions of dollars in technology, those look like miniatures, which is fine.
Sure.
Now that I know that that's a thing, I'm like on the lookout for it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So do we save him? Or do we let him drop? I let him drop. Nighty-night. Can you imagine crashing this thing in the bottom of the ocean?
And water pressure.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's like that submersible that was trying to go to Titanic last summer.
Oh yeah, that tragedy.
Yeah, looked probably just like that.
Yeah.
Clearly, they never watched The Abyss. They would have known that that was a thing.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that technology was out there, that people have gone in submersibles to the Titanic.
Yeah.
So let's build a tin can and control it with a video game remote. Blows my mind. See, this is what I was getting at before. Like, why haven't we asked for assistance before now?
Sure.
Regardless of, well, even from Coffee's perspective,
Yeah.
like, why is he not asked the government for government assistance, you know? Like, and I guess the hurricane is the explanation for everything.
I'm supposing so.
It would have been nice if he said, take him a while to get here because of the hurricane. I feel like water plus electrical box is probably not a good idea.
No. No.
I've seen enough movies to know that, you know, you stick the hairdryer in the bathtub and,
Yeah.
and you know, you don't...
Negative results.
Right, yes. Not ideal. I like that. She's reacting to the cold water. He is not. She's acting.
Yeah.
I guess he's in a wetsuit, but
Yeah.
that doesn't... He's literally holding his hands underwater. So the idea is that the water's rising. Like, if your hands hurt that bad, what's going to happen to your face?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like this is a microcosm of their marriage. So she's going to basically cryogenically stop herself and then hope to be revived on the other end.
Yeah.
Now, why wouldn't she suggest that he be the one to do that? Because he weighs more. You know what I mean? Like, there's... I feel like he would survive longer than...
Possibly.
He's, you know, he's bigger frame, he's muscle mass, all of it.
Possibly.
Is that bad logic? I don't know. I find it really well done on Cameron's part that he's put us in this position where, you know, we're thinking, what would we do? And like, I can't imagine being in this position. Thank you, James Cameron, for making me think about my own mortality and inability to swim and sticking me with, you know, somebody I love and the chance that only one of the two of us is going to make it out of it. You don't have a choice, lady. Hopefully you took a deep breath. Here we go. Well, move. Go. Don't look longingly into each other's eyes. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I get what you're doing, but why wouldn't you be
drama for it? Yeah, but
it's the same concept as a hitchhiker, right? Like all hitchhikers are just standing on the side of the road. Why aren't you walking in the direction you need to be going for the sake of getting there faster? He could have been swimming the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what's missing? The fish. There's no fish.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, it's because they're in a tank in North Carolina, but
yeah,
I've been in the ocean. There's fish there.
Yeah.
Would have been nice if they just put like 2 fish in the pond. If they were in the frame, they're in the frame. If they're not, so what? Fish like structure.
I mean, because it's a tank, they're shooting like chlorinated water and. Like,
oh, sure. I mean, I get it.
Fresh water, not seawater. So.
Well,
yeah.
I get it. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's not historically accurate.
Yeah.
I know I'm a son of a bitch. I just nitpick the shit out of everything. I get it. I like the good makeup on her lips are blue.
Oh, yeah.
I also feel like he would be not moving at this rate. He would also be hypothermically deterred. Once again, electricity and water means that you probably don't have to turn it up to 10.
Yeah.
Just a hunch. Oh, there's some titties. Interesting that we're watching with the subtitles on, and they just neglected Harris's whole line there. The "Come on, baby, aw Christ" wasn't even on the subtitles. They just said, "Nah, we're not going to put that on there." Great makeup.
Oh, yeah.
She looks dead.
Yeah.
Harris is so good.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, he's never put out a bad performance.
No.
She blinked. That was probably a mistake. Good acting out of the cowboy there in the middle. She,
Yeah.
This is a well done scene.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very happy with this.
Jesus.
Isn't that beautiful? And yeah, he covers up her titties.
Yeah.
This is perfect. This is such a great dramatic moment. I really think this is well done.
I mean, it highlights what the film is in a focused way. It's about these two characters. It's about the estranged relationship and these two coming back together and finding that bond again, that love again, and how it feeds into the larger narrative we get to later on.
Get out of here, he says.
Jesus Christ.
I think this is a really real
Yeah.
reaction. Like, I think
It exemplifies how much Bud loves her.
well, he always
He always
did, right?
did, yeah.
Like, she's the one that was cold towards him.
Yeah.
There you go. He had to slap her. That's what did it.
Stop her from dying.
Right. Oh, God damn it.
Well, look at that. Just, that takes an immense amount of acting resources to pull that emotion out of yourself throughout the entire scene.
Right. Now, how many... And what if you have to do it like 3-4 times?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as much as we say Cameron's a perfectionist, like, he felt with Ed Harris, he only had to do like a couple takes before Cameron felt he got it.
Right.
But Ed Harris kept saying,
Do it again?
one more take. He was so critical about himself, there were times like when Cameron feels like, we got it peaked. We got it. And Harris kept feeling like you need to push it further or something else like that. So, I mean, that shows a commitment of quality from him so much.
Is his hand still blue?
I don't know. Yeah, it is. The right hand. It's nice continuity.
I don't see how it would be.
I mean, we got to figure how much time has passed. I mean,
Well, he's been in the water the whole
there's-
goddamn...
well, if it's some sort of dye or whatnot, I mean, stuff
But it wasn't.
stains ya.
It wasn't blue, and they were digging around before they left the chamber.
Yeah, I don't know. Now he's got to get submerged all over again.
Nobody's talking about the aliens anymore.
No.
Wait, what's he doing now?
He is going to dive down to retrieve the nuke
Oh,
that
okay.
sunk to the bottom.
Got it.
I guess that's one thing you could kind of levy against to the length of the film, the pacing of the film. Is like, for certain stretches, you have to be so focused on certain aspects and let other things fall away, and they kind of eventually come back around to certain things. So there's so many things between Bud and Lindsay, and then you have the Cold War aspect, then you have the stuff with coffee, then you got the extraterrestrial stuff. It can't all be kind of playing at the exact same time to get the maximum effect on us, and so focus on this for a while, expand that out, enrich that part of the story, move on to the next thing, then the next thing, then go back to the original thing.
Am I remembering correctly after all that talk that we did earlier? Am I remembering correctly that Ed Harris actually breathed the liquid?
That's the sequence we're getting to here, yes.
Right. I want to say that he did it in real life, right?
I guess, I mean, as much as Cameron talked about it in the new featurettes and everything, this sequence, he doesn't actually breathe it in. He's acting like he is. Or at least the fact is, it was a little uncertain about. It sounded like way Cameron was describing this sequence was that how he reacts is not him actually breathing it into his lungs. He's just acting the moment. But eventually, I mean, as he is through the entire rest of the next 20 or 30 minutes or so, I'm not entirely certain. I think if they did it with the rat, I think they'll do it with their actual actor too, but I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is I thought that I remembered...
You can't be under that thing holding the rat for that long with this fluid in them without actually being...
I thought that
in the process.
That was part of the treacherous production of this, was that he said he wanted to do it the real way.
I mean, it would seem like it would have to, because otherwise, every 20 seconds maybe at Swords, you'd have to drain them and refill them.
Right.
Start the next take. I mean, there's no way you can fake that. You can clearly see the liquid's in there. Maybe he won't walk around the set with this 30-pound helmet and everything else on and not be gassed, holding his breath. That's just not possible. So it might have been more Cameron saying like he was already used to the fluid and he wasn't actually reacting that way, but he was acting like Bud would in the situation. So that's probably more the way to interpret Cameron's commentary on that.
Now, what they could do is have an inner layer behind, and so
tinted and more kind of like a lens, whatnot, to distort it more.
They fill an outer layer with water.
Yeah, you could do that too.
And then have him behind an inner mask.
Yeah, you could do that too.
So there's, his head's free and clear, but there's water.
Yeah.
Like a double layer, like a thermos.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember that he tried the actual liquid.
I feel like he would have. I mean, literally, it could have just been that sequence because the rest of this, I mean, you're underneath all the water density as it is. You wouldn't be able to tell really one way or another. You just put a gel or some kind of tint over the lights on the helmet to just simulate it.
What a moment.
Yeah.
Just hang on. Here we go. Like, oh my God, what a shot. And to think there's still 45 minutes left.
Thereabout, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can feel it. The fact that Fox say, yeah, everything is a good film. I just feel a little twitchy putting something this sort of methodically paced as a summer release next to a lot of other kind of fast-paced 2-hour movies or whatnot that are projecting to perform very well.
Now, do you think that Fox had aspirations of Best Picture with this? Like, if you're gonna have a 3-hour drama with good visual effects and whatever, maybe they're thinking
they may have projected it. I don't know if they did a campaign for it. Clearly, it was just the visual effects that got the headway on it. I don't know if it got nominated for anything else.
It was nominated for 4, and it won 1. So yeah, it was visual effects, sound, cinematography, I think.
Okay.
And then one other one.
Okay.
No acting. None of the bigs. They were all technicals.
No. It might have been score or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it might have been score. Let me give a best art direction, best
art direction,
cinematography, and best sound.
Art direction, yeah.
That makes sense.
So not score.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
Yeah.
So, yeah, everyone's sitting in the theater for 3 hours, you know, and it's not Lord of the Rings, you know, or
Right.
it's not,
It's not an adventure movie.
right, it's not yeah, it's paced more like a dramatic
drama,
yeah, and so I feel like studios don't necessarily release 3-hour dramas unless
It's prestige.
right. I feel like they would have been disappointed that they didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
I feel like something like this would play better in a later era.
You mean like 10 years later?
Maybe post Lord of the Rings, maybe more like when you have a Christopher Nolan today. Is like, it doesn't matter the length of the film or really what the film is. You know, Christopher Nolan film, if it's 3 hours, it's probably going to be one of the best films of the year.
Okay.
And it's going to play, it's going to be... I feel like if Cameron had... If you put this on after, like, Titanic or something else like that, where Cameron's got a little bit more track record ahead of him, it's not just action films.
Okay.
And they have a bit more of that varied sensibility, like he's done Titanic, which has not really action as much, it's much more of a character-driven story.
I think, now that you say that,
And
the
they're
what
not focusing as a summer blockbuster, too. If this was released like November, December, it's a little bit of a different complexion.
yeah. I'm gonna, this is a fun exercise.
Yeah.
If this movie comes out after Titanic, I think it bombs because everyone compares it to
Yeah, the
that.
size of that one, yeah.
Right. But I don't think people saw Titanic and went, "Oh, he already made an underwater movie. This one is like
Not going to be as special.
right."
Yeah, so... It's,
Because it's different enough.
Yeah.
But had this come out after, people would have said he already did a water movie,
Yeah.
and it was the best movie, the highest grossing movie
yeah.
of all time, and whatever.
Right. Yeah, just in terms of like what audience expect, what audience is more attuned to at certain other eras later on.
People definitely
you can
now
release a 3-hour Lord of the Rings film that has a lot of prestige and grand production value and still have it bank a lot of money. So I feel like something's very special effects, but it's also very much dramatic and character based stuff like that. I feel like there's much more of an audience for that theatrically. That's not 1989.
yeah, I think I definitely think that audiences now are
Or even maybe a little bit latter half of the 90s even.
right.
Possibly.
They're just willing to sit through longer movies.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, I mean, the Marvel movies are long,
Yeah.
right? But those are
Some of
action.
them, yeah.
He let go, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
How does he get back up? Like, what is the strategy for getting back?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as much as the previous scene with the CPR and everything is Ed Harris' scene, this is so much her scene. I mean, between the two of them,
They each get a
I
big
could
moment.
definitely
Yeah.
see Fox saying like,
Right, I think there's something
campaign
here.
between
Right,
these two.
right.
they-
Well, that's
they
what I'm
could have pushed
saying. Like,
something.
I feel like they would have been disappointed that only got the 4,
Yeah,
and they were all technicals.
Yeah. God damn.
And to think that Jim Cameron just sat on his couch or somewhere and like came up with this. You know what I mean? Like that part
Yeah.
kills me. It really shows how filmmaking is teamwork, right?
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
but it all starts with the screenwriter.
Yeah.
And then you need people to actually like
Believe in it.
believe in it and act it. But you can have great acting and great writing, but if there's nobody to like light it the right way and have the right framing, it gets lost in the shuffle,
right.
you know?
And wonderful shot there, just a little speck on the screen, falling and falling. Oh, she's so good. I mean, it really highlights so much what Cameron was so good at. He's so good at adding that humanity into the story. It brings it down to human emotion and connections between people.
Had Titanic just been about the boat,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been as good.
It wouldn't have gone on and been #1 for like 4 months.
Well, it was #1 until Avatar came out.
No, I'm just saying,
as far
at
as
the box office, week
Correct,
after week
correct.
after week for like 12, 14
What
weeks.
I'm saying is a lot of people shit on the fact that there was a love story. And the love story
What brought people
is
back.
what brought people back, yes. I mean, I was in the minority that was more interested in the history than the love story. Now,
Sure.
the love story's grown on me over the years.
Yeah.
He made it. Oh, that's what she said. So he's got to like disarm the bomb? Is that what's happening? Like, is it gonna blow up? You know?
I mean, it's just dangerous. You wouldn't want to leave something alive, nuclear.
I guess
in there
now
anything could happen down there.
we know the Russians are
Between
coming.
the water pressure and something could collapse on it or something else like that. I mean, you just don't leave a live nuclear warhead laying around anywhere.
He can't
You
tell what's
fucking
what.
Tell shit.
Black and yellow, blue and white.
And
Which
all
one's
got-
which?
All he's got is a green fluorescent light. You have a clue about.
Cutting. Great lighting here as well.
Yeah.
Great close-up. Cut the red wire, cut the blue wire. Lethal Weapon 3. Well,
No kaboom.
where the red light goes, you bang.
Oh.
Start back. She's so good. I don't know why she... I don't know why she would divorce herself from the movie, no pun intended.
Just the experience of it. She just probably just didn't. Probably felt harsh feelings against Cameron, or just I don't know. I don't know why. She doesn't want to speak up. I don't really can't give you an answer. Oh God.
What a line.
Oh.
I do think that the pacing is really off on the aliens, though. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about them in a long
Yeah.
time, and for that to be such, it wasn't like they saw something normal.
Right.
They saw something that nobody's ever seen before. Like, to me, you can't forget that.
Right.
regardless of the circumstances.
Right.
It should be the peril plus, oh my God, what's out there?
Right. I mean, it feels
that's
like
a great shot.
I feel like there's a potential to make the film almost without that element. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, you've got enough of a strength in the story just between Bud and Lindsay and the general things around them to make it a strong film.
But, I mean, it ruins your ending.
Yeah. He dies.
Oh, well, sure.
He would just die down here, and then you're sourful ending.
That's rough. I don't think Fox would get behind that.
Oh. So.
I love the reflection in this little sea creature.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Little turtle face. This is a Stephen King turtle.
Oh, boy.
This created the whole universe right here. Giving him the middle finger.
Hmm.
How cool is that?
Oh.
Don't forget your nukes. Well, I guess it's disarmed. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Do you think that the audiences thought this was too stupid?
I don't know.
Like
I mean,
we've got such a good people drama, and now we've got this element,
right.
And it's like, oh, you ruined it.
When I was sitting in the theater, because before this I only watched the film one time, maybe like 10 years beforehand. And watching the theater, like, there is something that feels a little too jarring to it all.
Well, you're coming off the two dramatic scenes.
Yeah.
And, like I said, they haven't been keeping up with this element of the story.
Or the Cold War nuclear annihilation thing.
Right.
That's above the surface.
And the hurricane.
As it's progressed, it's gotten more and more intimate with the story, and now it's bursted wide open again.
Right, now it's Tron.
Yeah.
Like, as an audience member in 89, do you think they shit on this? Because, yeah, they were fine with the supernatural element, but then we were told as an audience to kind of forget about that and focus on the people drama. Okay. And then now you've got this, and it's like, holy shit.
Well, even in 89, in terms of the theatrical cut of the whole thing, like I said, a lot of the stuff with the Cold War, nuclear tension stuff is not in that cut of the film, and so part of this ending is also removed as well. So as the theatrical cut is, they just came to his rescue. They don't really have a thematic tie-in for the alien stuff in that version. So I could see more in 89 before you get the extended cut of the whole thing, then not everything quite feels like it fits together on the wider scope. Because as we get to shortly, the whole thing about them threatening to wipe out humanity with the gigantic tidal waves is not in the original theatrical version. That's the visual effects stuff they cut out when they did the equal reaction test screenings of both versions.
Got it.
Then, as 4 years pass, and you get the special edition, people being able to sit with the film longer, then they see much more revelatory type of thing, seeing the full version of it. Okay, now everything makes much more sense, and people can appreciate it more. So it's that peculiar process in that regard. Now, if they had seen the full version in 89, they would have processed it differently in that regard.
I just think that there's too much alien all at once at the end.
Yeah.
After basically being told to forget.
Yeah.
Because we're focusing on the people.
Well, the course of 2.5 hours, we've gotten maybe about 4 incidents with them.
And almost none in the last hour.
Yeah.
Like the midpoint
was the pseudopod.
Right. That was really the last time we saw any aliens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're saying this part was cut out.
Maybe a little bit of this stuff, especially when they start showing the giant tidal waves and everything. Yeah, the entire ecological element is largely not in that original theatrical cut.
Is that Brian Gumble? That's kind of fun. I think he still does the news. This is weird, right? Like, it's weird.
Like I said earlier, it's like I can see the issues with the length and the pacing because we got a lot of thematic elements that just get a little bit scattershot out to a degree. I mean, so much the issues with coffee and that tension, that conflict is so much up front because it's right in front of them. They can't just dip away from it and just circle back an hour later.
Right.
It's a constant. The relationship between Bud and Lindsay is a constant. This is something that's floating around in the background and kind of comes back around every so often. So yeah, it's a little, I want to say it's tacked on. It just doesn't feel like it integrates as well with the forefront elements of the story.
Yeah, it's a fine idea. It's just it's a little too extreme.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean the opening scene hints at some of this stuff, but it's so long ago that they haven't actually done much of anything. They've kind of like approached the situation and kind of like floated around them when they're doing certain things outside the rig, and the pseudopod kind of floats over the warhead before we can get any sort of clue about why. So it's all just a little too disconnected from getting to some sort of connection about the entire idea, the conglomeration of ideas until now, which is, like I said, it's a lot late in the film, and this is the sequence that they cut out from the theater because these shots weren't ready. They really couldn't get them done in time.
I mean, they look great.
Yeah.
Now.
And I mean, as just a couple of years, ILM got faster computers, more powerful computers, knew more what they could do with the technology, be able to finish them properly. I think
that one does not look good.
I think the special edition did premiere originally on the Sci-Fi channel before it hit home video.
That's interesting.
And I think I've read there was like super limited, like maybe a couple of screenings, some places across the country that did it too. But yeah, that was like right at the dawn of the Sci-Fi channel where they're just like hot stuff.
And how crazy is that the water just stops mid-wave?
Yeah, but it's not like a static image. It still has a movement to it, but it's seized.
And these people are acting at nothing.
Yeah.
This does create a whole new extra layer of weird.
Yeah.
And I mean, after all that we've been through with those two characters, I could see people really taking a shit on this ending.
It could be. Feels like it takes the focus off of the intimate story you've
Right.
driven towards. Yeah.
Like, the aliens are weird. There's the science of controlling the water is weird. The amount of weird with the aliens underwater kind of matched the pacing of the movie. It was going along at an equal rate.
Sure.
And then it stopped.
To deliver a message, yeah.
And then it's like, it went from 0 to 10.
Yeah.
Immediate, like, instantly. That alien knows what the word wife means.
Peculiar.
Then again, I guess it knows everything else, so whatever. Kind of cute. I still want to know how he gets back. Like, what was the plan? Just swim up? Like, for a half hour? Hurricane's over, apparently. Hell yes. Moderately poor shape. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it. This part feels like it fits in with the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Just fine.
It does feel like this thematic element around extraterrestrials feels like there need to be almost an outside perspective to a certain degree, instead of like everything's just inside the rig.
Yeah.
Feels like it needs more that the world around them kind of having certain things progressing to a worse state, to have the threat of nuclear war and all that type of stuff kind of be constantly prevalent in the background, to have that come around at the end to have an impact to it. But then you're probably talking about maybe our 20 or 30 minutes on the film.
No, we can't sit through that.
No.
So here we go with having a message.
Sure.
And that could also be why people shit on it.
It could be. It just depends on how heavy-handed you feel it hits you, really.
The Navy? Like, imagine how much better, in my opinion, this would have been had the aliens just rescued him and saved him and brought him back.
Which is the theatrical version.
Just literally no political anything.
Sure. But then it just makes it feel like Deus Ex Machina. They're just there to facilitate a miraculous ending, and they don't really have a purpose in the story. Which I guess a couple of people did call it that back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see it both ways. I'm interested, maybe some of the listeners, if they've made it this far, can give us their opinion on
Sure.
on which version makes more sense.
Sure.
Either from just a preference or maybe an explanation as to why it succeeded or didn't succeed.
Yeah.
Just thoughts on the two endings.
Yeah.
Chris Elliott's been chewing that gum for a long time.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. They just lifted the rudders right out of the water. Look at this thing. Also a miniature, you think?
Yeah, definitely. This shot, I don't know where they got this footage from. That shot just looks really cruddy.
Yeah, it did.
I picked it up on the theatrical screen too. It's like, that's weird. It looks like they upscaled it from a shit source.
Yeah, it almost looks like they didn't touch it at all.
Yeah, weird.
Because this looks really sharp.
Yeah.
They're back on land, kind of, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think too many people lived. There's too many people getting out of this ship. That's got to be some sort of
Yeah, big
multi-layered,
composite, yeah.
Matte painting or something in the background. There's the rat. I'm really curious why she doesn't talk about this. There he is. Welcome back, sir. And now you've got the big reuniting. She almost died. He almost died. We actually love each other.
On the Wikipedia for Mastrantonio.
Yes.
Two-part thing. At one point, Cameron told the actors to relieve themselves in their wetsuits to save time between takes. Directly after it says, while filming one of the main takes of Mastrantonio's resurrection scene, which is soaking wet, topless, and repeatedly being slapped and pounded on the chest, the camera ran out of film, prompting Mastrantonio to storm off the set yelling, "We are not animals."
Oh.
So a bit of trauma.
Well, that was already a traumatic scene.
Yeah. But tension rising high and stuff like that, so I could feel a sourness towards it all.
Well, yeah, but after 35 years, you don't get over it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Joel Goodman, did he wasn't one of the nominees, the editing.
No.
And I don't think that that name doesn't sound familiar as far as working with Cameron on other pictures.
No. A lot of the action stuff was like Mark Goldblatt and a few other people here, so I don't think he was a regular.
There's
your
Leo.
guy.
Leo. Yeah, I don't know. I think
it's a little bit of a mixed bag. There's some excellent elements. Just feels like there's a lot going on, and it doesn't quite all balance out to make the most organic, flowing narrative between all of it.
Right, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, like as far as storylines go, that aren't intertwined enough.
I mean, in terms of like the almost like talk around the film has been because it's been so starved for a good quality home video release for so long that just got so clamored for just get a decent quality. It didn't look like standard definition antiquated junk. The people just kind of built this up so much, like it's so hyped up that it's finally coming to 4K and stuff like that. And people have been clamoring for like 15 years. I feel like it's more just like the denial of getting it in a good quality that kind of built it up to make people like want it so much. Even if people didn't feel like it was one of his best films or something like that, it just kind of drove a certain hunger to grab the disc.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? So, did it even have a Blu-ray release?
Not until this year.
Okay, so we had standard DVD.
It was a non-anamorphic DVD, which was a port of the Laserdisc. That's all we had.
Wow. And then, yeah, so...
Dick Warlock.
Oh, stunt coordinator. Look at him.
He got soaked on this one.
Sure did.
Tom Jones Jr.
Like...
He probably doesn't carry a tune as well.
No. That's weird.
A nice Dick Warlock got
that's fun.
Little nod in this one.
That's fun. Well, we've got Warlock does water.
Yeah, and he's done fire too. Firestarter.
Oh, you're right. He did Firestarter.
We got a lot of elemental on this one.
I was thinking, Tony Caesar was our fire guy, but
yeah.
Warlock also does fire and water.
Yeah. Al Giddings was the guy with the shot hearing that was the expert of the underwater photography.
I mean, look at all these crew and stuff.
Oh yeah.
For the underwater sequence, like they have their own section. Submersibles, and then you got your LAs. Mm-hmm. Tim Jones, not Junior.
Yeah.
Does the craft services. That's the most important person on the set, right? Craft services. Tons of people on the miniature crew.
Reading controlled miniatures. Dream Quest was, I think they were regular for Cameron a little bit here and there.
So there's Dream Quest and then there's ILM.
ILM, yeah.
So ILM just did the wave sequence, it looks like, and the pseudopod.
Mainly, yeah.
So that means that Dream Quest did all of the other alien stuff. The lights and
Possibly, I don't know.
Like it literally just said pseudopod and waves.
Yeah. Like then that's what it says.
So
Steve Johnson, he's a good one. He also worked on Predator that we're covering soon. Said NTI is created by him. So Fantasy 2 is a Cameron regular. I mean, they just poured it out to a lot of different houses to work on specific sequences, certain elements of the entire film. Now, on big productions like this, even today, like that's kind of the standard.
Like
Not one house takes care of everything. They usually have maybe about 3 or 4 houses. If you got a lot of effects work, they kind of delegate it out, and they'll work on certain elements and certain qualities of certain
Dwight
sequences.
Perry, played by Richard Warlock.
And there we go.
I don't even know who Dwight Perry was in the act.
I don't know.
But good old Dickie Warlock had
I would have noticed him if he was featured that much.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what he looks like that much, but he was in the credits as an actor.
Nicely done.
Original soundtrack.
Linda Ronstadt.
I don't remember that much music, really.
No, just the stuff they were singing early on.
There's only 3 songs. That warrants a CD.
Well, probably mostly Silvestri stuff.
Well, it's a soundtrack, though, not score.
Well, sometimes they don't make the distinction.
Some of the special thanks I always get a kick out of.
Huh.
Does Coca-Cola get a... No?
I don't see one.
That's a shame. They were heavily featured.
Hmm.
Isn't it weird that they did the special thanks and then they're going right back into weird other credits?
Well, this is special edition stuff, so it's tacked on in 93
Oh, I
from
see.
onwards.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay, that makes sense. So, right, it's like the addendum.
Yeah.
CNN. Skywalker sound, sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gaffney, South Carolina.
Or maybe it was 92 they did it in.
Well, either way, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's long, it's good, it's not great.
It's not as A plus. Maybe a B plus.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
Yeah.
it's it's maybe a 7.5 out of 10. or
Yeah.
somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you sat through us with
All
this
this
long.
stuff. It's a
thank
long
you.
So,
We appreciate all your comments and feedbacks and sharing
Yeah.
and interaction. And let us know what you think about the endings and
yeah.
the two different versions.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back with some shorter fare soon.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.